We are hearing the closing bell. It is Friday, thankfully, July 24th. Let's take a look at the action as the market settles. Here you see the S&P 500 actually gaining 0.33% at the end of the day, even with disappointing earnings that we saw yesterday, partially, as Herb says, because of the Fed's comments about unwinding emergency actions. Here you see 979.25, the closing price on the S&P. Take a look at the Dow. A gain there of 25 points to 90.94, so holding about 100 points now above 9,000. We hadn't seen that level until yesterday, since January. The Nasdaq still down at the close, but only about 0.4%. And considering the $1.33 billion miss by Microsoft on revenue yesterday, it may not look so bad. Also, especially considering the 12-day run-up that the Nasdaq has had. That's a record that we haven't seen since 1992, believe it or not, before the tech bubble. All right, so let's get a breakdown of what drove the markets today. Chris Validio joins us from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Adam Johnson joins us from the markets desk. And still with us, our featured guest, Dan Cook from IG Markets. There was a big ping there. I don't know if we lost somebody. It looks like we've got everybody. Chris, let's start with you. Are you pinging down there on the New York Stock Exchange floor?
But running out to get for Friday. A lot of people headed out trying to get those drinks. All right, we had more than 800 companies reporting earnings this week. For the most part, really surprising to the upside. Today we had 130 companies reporting. It was a little more bearish today, and hence we saw a little bit of weight on the overall averages. Of course, kicking things off, Microsoft, you heard Matt mention. I'm going to reiterate the numbers. Company reporting a 29% profit decline, missing sales by $1 billion, short of an estimate. So really big losses there for Microsoft. Amazon.com, much of the same here. A 10% decline in second quarter profit. Importantly, revenue less than analysts had expected. Amazon, by the way, falling the most since November 18th. So again, that revenue versus EPS, we continue to see that theme. Schlumberger, another stock that kind of exemplified that, coming in, beating the EPS picture actually, but this reporting second quarter profit, specifically the revenue in North American drilling, down 43%. Broadcom, another one coming in, second quarter profit down 90%. So certainly more bearish reports in today's session, but overall, as you well know, we've been beating. We're going to have to see if that continues into next week, Matt.
Obviously, Chris, earnings was a massive theme. What do we look for in earnings next week?
Yeah, okay, so here's the deal. We have had 41% of S&P 500 companies that have so far reported as of 1 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern time. We're down on average 23%. Compare that to the estimates, which are calling for 33% drop for the S&P 500 on average, including those financial stocks. One interesting thing, and this might be an obvious thing, but certainly worth pointing out, is that we got the latest earnings expectations today. And if you compare them to the beginning of the month, you can see that we certainly have gained in those expectations. 34% decline was originally expected. Now we're seeing 32% drop on average. So those earnings expectations continue to get a little bit better.